I just really appreciate you guys.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Ohio political news. And we're live. As always, we are live. We wouldn't have it any other way. So if you're in the chat at all tonight, always got to emphasize this, and I should emphasize it more often. But if you're in the chat, because we want to be talking to you, and we want to make you part of the show tonight. Absolutely. You got Brian here with us tonight.
Hey, Joe, I'm missing that sombrero and mustache from last week. Wow, I thought you were going to wear it again. So.
Don't tempt me. I got it right here. Jonathan, how you doing, man? All right.
Good. Everything's good.
All right, great. Okay, I got the commish here. I got to get him in. Yes, I got to figure out which button it is. There it is, John Poleshnik. How you doing, John?
Hey, John.
Love the flag.
Hello. Live and in person.
Yep, love the flag. You got it, man. And we got our special guest here tonight, Jennifer Gross, joining us all the way from District 45. Just like the president.
Hello.
Just like the president. His first term president. So Trump was 45. Trump was 46. Of course, they stole that one. And then he was 47. That's amazing. All right. Hey, I want to talk to you here tonight and Jennifer Gross, and we're going to be talking, whatever's happening with the State House. But I know you were at a special event today. So let's talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind. The Healthy Americans. Healthy Americans. Yeah, Healthy Americans. And I heard that if anybody wasn't healthy, they kicked you out of that event immediately. So it's part of the Make America Healthy Again, the MAHA movement. This was in Farmersville, Montgomery County near Dayton, hosted by Turning Point Action.
That's right.
And you were one of the speakers out there, one of the main speakers out there for this event. And just so that we brief people on some of the stuff that's going on with MAHA and this, and I want to get all your input into all of this. But part of what they work on is reducing obesity in kids. So they want to knock that back by about 30%. They want to cut toxins and exposure to that. They want to lower autism rates, which would be awesome. Fluoridation in the water, that's not healthy. Some of the Wi-Fi risks. And I was just reading that they want to cut the budget by $500 billion. Pretty amazing. If they can cut the budget by $500 billion through prevention. Right. Not through popping pills all day long and open the medicine cabinet, but through prevention. So how you doing, and how was the event? You were the star of the event.
It was wonderful. I mean, we had Gabe, who is part of Turning Point Action, who organized it. We had Stephanie Stock of Ohio Advocates for Medical Freedom. We had Representative Levi Dean, who sponsors the fluoride bill. And, of course, we spoke about my bills, HB 12, the Jeff David Angie Right to Try Act, and HB 112, the Conscientious Right to Refuse. That would allow anyone, no matter where they work, to refuse a vaccine without fear of losing their jobs. And then other medical treatments as well. An employer should not be able to force a medical treatment on you, or any kind of medical surveillance type of stuff. And then we talked about Levi's fluoride bill. That's HB 182. And then we talked about my microenterprise home kitchen, microenterprise home kitchen bill. We call it MICO. That would also improve health because it would allow people to sell food out of their kitchen. And today in Ohio, probably most of your listeners don't know, but although you can sell cakes and cookies out of your home with a bakery license or a bakery registration, you are illegal if you sell chicken tava or chicken shawarma. These are things that I ate in my travels overseas, or even grandma's favorite lasagna. All of those things with a government that is overreaching and overbearing in Ohio says that you are illegal if you sell grandma's lasagna out of your home. This bill would allow you to make money out of your own kitchen.
Hey, let me ask you something here with because I'm not familiar with Representative Levi Dean.
Ooh.
I'm not.
He's my young male counterpart spirit animal. He is amazing.
Is he? Okay, fantastic. So tell us about him, and also the fluoridation. I'm a little curious about that. I didn't know that
His
was
father
getting
was Representative Bill Dean, and then he ran for office and took that position out of Xenia, Ohio. And Levi is a plumber. They own a plumbing business as a family. And basically, when you put fluoride, now remember, fluoride is naturally occurring, but there's also man-made. Our water has man-made fluoride added to it. And so the premise of the bill is this: it's a medication. It is a chemical that is forced on you. And the only way you can remove fluoride from your water is reverse osmosis. People that are on limited incomes usually cannot afford a reverse osmosis water filtration system. And therefore, you are forced to take a chemical into your body on a regular basis when you could use, you buy the cheapest toothpaste, you can use fluoride. You don't have to drink it. Remember that when you drink it, it goes to all of your body, not just your teeth, and it goes all over. So the premise here is that you should be able to choose whether you want fluoride in your water. It should not be forced on you by the public drinking system.
So it's some of those things like the water filtration systems that you can pour water into. We have a pitcher, we pour
Brita.
water into it, and it kind of filters the water through. Are those pretty good?
Those don't work. You have to have
they don't
reverse
work?
osmosis, according to Representative Dean, to get fluoride out of your water. A lot of people can't afford that. And so we believe that you should have the right to decide whether you want fluoride in your water, and you could put your own fluoride in, or you could use fluoride toothpaste, but probably don't need both.
So how was the event? Was it a good turnout today? Because
It
you
was
just
good
did it.
turnout.
You just literally were there hours ago, right?
I was there 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
Or, a little less, but it was great. There were about 30 people there, and it was amazing. All age groups, and I love to see there was an older woman who is 85, and she is a Marine. You never say was a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. And I love to see all age groups, and I love to see how active our older population is among MAHA and medical freedom too, because the engagement of I love and respect our people that are over, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm almost there, over 65. And that's not old, by the way, but yeah, there were all age groups. There were homeschoolers there were middle-aged people, there were pastors there. It was really great. It was really great. And that was in Farmersville, Ohio.
For good old Farmersville. I wonder why they named it that.
Because it's really near.
So they want to ban artificial food dyes and additives. That I've heard Robert F. Kennedy speak about that all the time. Mm-hmm. Get rid of the red dye, get rid of the yellow dye, the blue dye, and all that.
Yes.
And then like I said, they want to cut $1 trillion or $500 billion just through preventive care, eating right, drinking right, getting exercise.
That's right. Returning the president's fitness test back to the high schools. Remember that I still practice as a nurse practitioner, and I help people lose weight as part of my job and get healthy. And one of the things that we know, and this sounds super simple, but I'm telling you, we can reverse type 2 diabetes when people lose weight. We can get them off medication. We can also reduce blood pressure. Now, not everybody is going to get fully well without medication, but I'm telling you, I see people get off of medication for blood pressure. I see some people get off medication for diabetes, and some people lower their cholesterol just simply by losing weight. And
I know I had type 2, almost had type 2 diabetes, and it was just because I did. I almost had it, and it was right at borderline. So then I changed my drinking, the pop and all that. I just cut all that junk out. I watched sugar. And I lost a little bit of weight and stuff, and then it was normal. So of course you can do it through preventive care, but it's too easy to just start popping some pills and stuff like that to take care of any kind of the problems that you have health-wise. So let me go around the horn here for a minute, and go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Jennifer, the fluoridation in the water, that's been going on for decades, hasn't it? And I'm just wondering, how did we get started with that? Was it someone had a good idea to put fluoride in the water to help everyone's teeth, and it is now just sort of expanded, just
Well,
like every government program?
that's a great question, Brian. They said in the 70s there was a certain amount of water. I think that the verdict is still out about how much is safe, how much is good. There are some people that say, and I believe there's actual science that says if you get too much fluoride, it can cause physical issues. I think that, remember, science is not settled. We learned that during COVID. People are questioning everything now. And I think that part of if there is good things, and there are some good things that came out of COVID, it awakened a lot of us. But one of the things is to question the science. Science for fluoride came out in about the 70s. I think it's prudent to say, is it okay to add chemicals to our water? Is this okay? And if it is, or it's local control and the local, people decide to vote to keep it, great. But to just carte blanche say fluoride is good and safe when you're also putting it in your toothpaste, and is it possible we're getting too much? Yes, it is. And I think it's worthy to always question the science. Science is not settled. And so 70s, how many of us have changed since the 70s? Okay, I was when the 70s started, I was in the single digits in age. So I've changed a lot since the 70s. And I would say, too, our science learning, we knew when I sold drugs, I used to sell drugs for Eli Lilly, and we used to detail physicians. Fluoride builds bone, but it builds brittle bone. So we knew that when you look at an x-ray of someone who got fluoride when they were doing the studies, that it looked like bone was stronger, but what it built, though it looked like it was strong on x-ray, it was actually brittle bone. How much fluoride is too much fluoride? I think it's worthy to question the science, and that's really where we are. And if we do question the science, is it right to force everyone to take the same amount of fluoride? Brian, I would argue that you probably weigh more than I weigh. And so your ability to eat certain amount of calories or whatever is not the same as mine. So wouldn't it make sense that your exposure to fluoride might just be different than mine, and that my exposure to fluoride, or the amount of fluoride that's safe for me, isn't safe for a baby that maybe is drinking formula? I'd rather breast is best, but I would rather, babies getting water mixed with formula out of the tap that is fluoride. Is that safe for that baby who's relying on?
I would agree with that. I just don't think that making the universal statement and putting the same amount of fluoride in, for the entire population does not, to me, correlate a good approach. I'd rather have it out of there, and if I need fluoride, I'll be able to individually put fluoride into my body.
Yeah, the cheap toothpaste.
And also with the pipes, you got lead pipes too. A lot of houses have lead pipes. And if you ever looked at the piping that's under the ground in the cities and stuff like that, like Cleveland Heights here, that pipe's got to be 100 years old, I would think, or 80 years old or something. But it's really, I saw the way they looked, and they looked all corroded and everything. So we're drinking this stuff. You got to get some kind of filtration system. You really have to.
I would agree with Jennifer. After COVID, though, I'm now questioning everything. And, I've had a doctor for, 30 years, and he told me immediately I should have had the COVID vaccine. And I said, no, I'm just not taking it. So I started to question my own family doctor that I've had for decades. And I never thought that would happen, but money does strange things to people. It really does.
That big pharmaceutical company there, you got to watch out for that. Hey, is that a racist cup you're drinking out of? Let's see that.
What is Make
Chief Wahoo? Great. I love it. I got to get one of those. That's perfect. That is terrific.
It's one of my favorites. Good timing.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite new mugs.
Yeah, I like that one.
What's up with his hat? I don't know. I'm a Bengals fan out here.
It's right up there with this one. So, all right.
Hey,
so I've got.
I got a bone to pick with you guys. I thought I was going to get one of those mugs.
Yeah, but
we got to get you one.
Ken will be on here soon. But Kent said he sent it to you Because
Really?
I've asked him. Yes, he said he sent it to you, and I asked him twice on that. So we'll find out if that's true or not. But he said
I don't
he
have
have
it.
to make sure
I'm
that
off
they-
the
Jennifer,
hand.
we've got to get Jennifer a mug. If we have to
Oh,
drive
yeah,
down to
yeah.
Columbus, that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
Jennifer,
Whatever it takes. That's the
Yes.
motto of this show. Whatever it takes.
Whatever
get it
it
done.
takes.
So,
Whatever it
the none of the following is to be construed as health or medical advice. However, I will say that the whole health, diet, nutrition, exercise thing is a rabbit hole that I gladly fell in a while ago. Growing up, I was one of those kids who just ate anything. I didn't care. It was like Captain Crunch and Fruit Loops and Kraft mac and cheese and sodas. I didn't care. I didn't pay any attention until I started to pay attention. And there was one, I got to just share this with the group because I was one of those people that for a long time I heard people saying like, oh, health and nutrition and diet can solve anything and all these ills and all that. And I was like, yeah, right, sure. And I chalked it off to just people talking stuff. And then people were talking about like, getting free range eggs and stuff. And I readily admit I was one of those people that was like, well, I don't know, maybe that works for some people and some limited. I really have become a believer in that stuff. And for me, it was an actual experience. I got a letter from a doctor after a health checkup that said my cholesterol was high. I was like, I had never thought about cholesterol before. Nobody in my family had ever mentioned cholesterol. I didn't know anything about it, but I was like, ooh, that sounds scary. But I looked it up. I looked into what are called statin drugs, and everybody I talked to was like, don't touch them. They're horrible for you. You don't want statin drugs. Again, remember, this is not health advice. This is a personal experience. I saw that stuff and I heard those people, and it was like, what else is an option if my cholesterol is high? And I jumped into a thing my wife ended up calling beans and sweat. It was beans, legumes. I changed my diet significantly. And I changed my workout routine tremendously. I went back like I wrestled in high school. It was kind of like that, just to see what would happen. And it was amazing. In 9 months, I lowered my cholesterol reading by like 90 points. It was unbelievable, or whatever it was. It was huge.
Wow.
It was way down into the normal range. My doctor was like, I don't know what you did, but that was awesome. That taught me a lesson. It told me that I'm in charge. And that what I do with my body dictates the outcome. And if I eat healthier, and that from that, I've ended up with all the things that I used to hear people talk about, with the free range eggs, with fresh organic produce and vegetables, with things that are locally sourced and grown, like honey that's local, all that stuff. I am now a firm believer that there is nutritional value, and especially local nutritional value, that comes from the fauna and flora and animals near you that is really important. So for this whole thing, I'm in the fist pump category. If we can dump some money into that and stop this federal argument, this government argument, that we just need to shake loose even more taxpayer dollars so that more people can shop for their food, I'm air quoting that, in like the dollar store with the stuff that doesn't expire for 75 years. That's not actually food. It's not. It has no nutritional value. And for my fellow countrymen, I don't want that. And for us, and this goes to one of the things that is on Rep. Gross's plate, and that's Medicaid. When we have people in the healthcare system that we're teaching a generation, or generations plural, that the stuff that comes out of those crinkly bags is food, and they eat that for years. It's almost guaranteed you're just going to get sick. I think you're going to get sick, and then if you're on food assistance, then you're on healthcare assistance. That's just this treadmill of ill health. And we should want none of it. Let's encourage our fellow countrymen to get healthy, get active, and be healthy.
Jennifer, did they mention anything about the shutdown in SNAP products? I've been reading about that. So SNAP is the Democrats are howling, and they're the ones who started the Democrats are the ones who's caused the whole shutdown. But I know that there's a lot of Democrats in Ohio that have been saying, it's obviously it's Trump's fault. They're going to say that, but that these SNAP benefits are going to be running out or they can't get them. But like what Jonathan was saying there too, these SNAP benefits, you can buy pop or candy or all kinds of junk food, all kinds of stuff that's going to like do you in. And I just wonder if you had any thoughts on that. If you had a thought on that.
That is a good question, because we already know that under the big attractive bill or the big beautiful bill, whatever you want to call it, was that the federal government, and this is the danger of the states, and I will say the word, I've been whining about this for 5 years. We take approximately 35% of the Ohio budget comes from the federal government. And remember that with that dependence comes problems. And so what happened was it cost us about $50 to $70 million to administer the SNAP program in Ohio. We do not pay for food product. That all comes from the federal government, but the administrative costs were 50 to 70. I did not realize that they were subsidizing that too. So under the big beautiful bill, we will now be carrying another amount. I don't know if it's 300 million or up to $1 billion. We're going to be bearing some of the brunt of the cost that the federal government was subsidizing our SNAP program for administration. We're going to now eat that. So we just passed our budget, but we didn't plan on that. We have not yet talked about where or how we're going to get that money, but we have to come up with administering the SNAP program. As far as the actual benefits, I have had 0 people write me and say they can't get their food. So I know that I've seen people on like TikTok or X in videos or Facebook saying, I get $4,000. I just find it hard to believe a mother gets $4,000 in food every month. But I watched a video. She said she got $4,000 in food stamps or SNAP every month, and she's not going to be able to feed her children. And that was lowered to $19.
That doesn't sound right. $4,000 for food.
$4,000
for food per month seems outrageous. Outrageous. Jonathan, how you doing over there, Mr. That is the commish. How you doing?
Hi, John.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Representative. So we've heard updates from Lake County Job and Family Services, and there have, as of yet, been no cuts to actual SNAP benefits of recipients in Lake County. And I imagine that much the same is true throughout Ohio, but there's the question mark as to what might happen if the shutdown were to continue far into next month. I think that's where we might start to see benefits cut off or reduced, or perhaps new applications not processed. But I want to say a word about the new acronym that everyone's talking about, the ABOD, and how all the Democrats' hair is on fire because ABODs might not get SNAP or might not get Medicaid, might not get free health benefits. ABOD stands for able-bodied adult without dependents. In other words, a healthy person who is not responsible for any children or minors. And they're like, oh no, ABODs, these able-bodied adults without dependents won't get free health care and free food. And I say, great
job.
Exactly. We have a shortage of folks in so many different industries, whether it's manufacturing or it's the restaurant industry. We can't fill those jobs. And we have these folks who are now going to be booted off free food and health care. I say, great. Welcome to the working world, young man, young lady. We've been waiting for you.
That's right. Unless they're having, they're in rehab for drug addiction. But even there, we can do better with peer support. So we spend a lot of money on the front end for drug rehab in an institution. But then we are falling off as a state with peer support. So when someone gets out of rehab, we need to spend money. We need to really, I want to say, shuffle the money around because it's very expensive on the front end. But if we could get peer support for people that have drug addiction, let's be really clear. There is no judgment coming from me in that area. if we are overweight, obese, then we're addicted to carbs. The addiction is very similar. I am not standing in judgment. I gain weight. I'm relapsing right in front of you. It's just that food is legal. And so is alcohol. I'm not saying I don't have an alcohol issue, to be clear. But if we get these people and we have peer support and they have help filling out a job application, getting back into the workforce in an area, I mean, if they're a felon, there are certain jobs they wouldn't be able to get. But if we have the peers step in, and we have a peer program in Ohio, we pay peers to help people when they get out of rehab so that they don't relapse. And guys, people will relapse, just like people that are obese lose weight and get it back again. Okay, so there is no judgment there. But if we have peer support, we'll have someone help them get into the workforce. And we know that people that work, and that is a Republican thing. And I know some of y'all are more maybe libertarian, and I have my own libertarian, views on some things. But if people that work have much higher life and personal satisfaction because they're producing in our society. I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, we can look at the research. So I'm with you, Commissioner. I love what you said. And, the Democrats are never going to lose an opportunity to traumatize everyone and make a big issue about a mountain out of a molehill. So unfortunately, the Democrats were not happy under Biden, and they're certainly not happy under Trump, but can I just say here, I am so thankful that they did the No Kings protest to assure that we do not have a king.
Yeah, we do not. We do not have a king. We do not have a king. All right, let's see here. This was put out by Bowling Green State University. This is Ohioans' political priorities. So now, this Bowling Green State University, they lean to the left. This whole thing, it's a Democracy and Public Policy Research Network, and they did polling. As a matter of fact, just to tell you about the polling real quick here, and then I want to get your thoughts on what they think is the most important stuff here in Ohio. But Democrat Sherrod Brown, they've got him leading against John Husted right now. There ain't no way. Ain't no way. And then they only got him winning by 1 point. But that still is ludicrous in my book.
Mr. Brown, Joe, the guy who got his degree in Russian studies and has never basically worked outside of government his entire life. Right.
He hasn't. He has not worked outside of government his entire life. So anyhow, plus or minus 4.5 percentage points on that poll. They polled 800 people. They're probably almost all Democrats, too. Mm-hmm. Also, that same group did a polling on the governor's race. So they've got Ramaswamy beating Amy Acton right now by 3 percentage points. But that seems like incredibly close.
Yeah,
almost
right.
Laughable. And Tim Ryan, if it was such a juggernaut, if it was that close, if she was really that close to overtaking Ramaswamy, Tim Ryan would be jumping into this race, and he hasn't yet. He's still on the fringe there, deciding whether or not he wants to run, which tells me that he isn't going to run because time is really running out. What's your thoughts then? Let me get your thoughts there on Amy Acton, on and Ramaswamy and John Husted and good old Brown. I mean, just your thoughts real quick. Like, how accurate do you think that is, or where do you think it's going? Or
I agree with you. These are 800 out of 11.9 million Ohioans is a very small poll. And so, but Ramaswamy, I think, will clean up. And I believe that he wins. It will remain to be seen who he chooses as his running mate. I do think that he needs a strong conservative Christian to be his running mate there, to just assure a victory for him. And I'm certainly I do not even play a political strategist on TV. I actually suck at political stuff. I love being a citizen representative. As far as Amy Acton, she's just so awful. And I just don't see Ohio, even after COVID, and those who are still pro-vaccine, COVID vaccine, and all of that. I think a lot of people have awakened and her baggage from COVID. There's no way she's going to be able to get over that. As far as Houston and Brown, I think it's going to be a tough race, but I do believe that by majority, we are a red state, and I do believe Houston wins. It may be tough. Sherrod Brown is known to be a person who will cut your knees off and laugh at you. Cut your legs off at the knees and laugh. He is a very vicious campaigner. And so we do need to not take it lightly that these polls show a close race between Sherrod Brown and Houston. We need to get behind our Republican and really assure that it's a race solely between Houston and Brown. If someone else got in the race, as did happen under DeWine and Renee C. with Joe, I forget his name, but the guy that ran and split the vote.
Oh, Blystone.
Yes, Blystone. So that split the vote. We need to be sure that race maintains.
The guy with the big beard. He had a beard that went down to his ankles. Yeah.
That's right. So we need to be sure that race stays Brown versus Houston, and then support our Republican candidate as best we can.
Hey, let me ask you, and we're going around the horn here very fast. You guys, give me a real short answer. But anyhow, when you're looking at that, Jennifer, this is what they're saying are the most important issues in Ohio. Being a state rep, you're closer to this than we are. They're saying the economy is number one. Threats to democracy. They say that's number two.
I'm like, what? First of all, I want to know. I didn't finish my PhD, but I did start it, and I started in research. So, what question did they ask that they got someone to say threats to democracy? That is odd. And then you guys are, with axohiotax.com and getting signatures to get a petition to get a ballot initiative that says abolish a property tax in Ohio. I read my emails. I'm good and better at some moments, and my aide, I have a new aide now, and making sure that I'm seeing everything that's coming into my office. Where's property tax on that? Because I'm telling you, Ohioans care most about property tax. So that, to me, I look at that whole thing, and because I don't see property tax anywhere on that wheel, is it there?
No, it's not there. Unless it's
maybe under other.
Maybe it's under other.
That makes me question the entire poll, because what I'm seeing, and the reason I voted against the original House budget was because there was no property tax reform. The reason I voted yes on the second House budget is because there were 6 pieces of legislation to hopefully reform our property tax, and the governor vetoed all 6. So the House is moving now to try to move property tax legislation, arguably partially because of the initiative, maybe largely due to the initiative, but yet it's not in this poll. I'm sorry.
It's not.
And not only that,
it didn't make the cut. It didn't make the cut. Hey, listen. So we're gonna swing. I'm gonna segue into property taxes. Listen to this. I actually got this off of your X page.
We got to put it on the ballot, and the voters have to approve it. It's a constitutional issue in Florida. It's not something the state derives revenue for. It's a local issue. We're trying to focus on Florida homeowners and their primary resident. People that have Airbnbs or whatever, that's separate. Yeah. But your personal home, you shouldn't rent it from the government. You should own it. And, you're paying taxes for 50 years. But even for young families, it's become very difficult across this country to make ends meet. Wouldn't it be great if they were able to have home ownership without having the burden of property tax that? So that's coming to a ballot near you in November of 2026, and we need 60% of Florida voters to do it. And
all right, so Brian, I'm gonna go to everybody here. Just throw a question at Jennifer.
I'm just wondering why Governor DeSantis doesn't move to Ohio. Really, I
wish we had him.
I'd help him move if really.
I agree with him.
Well, I'm working on an article. I just want to tell you, I'm working on an article. It's a tale of two states. The difference between Florida and Ohio, and it's going to focus directly on what we just heard from Governor DeSantis. He gets it. And what does the state of Ohio do? The senators, they have the audacity to say their answer is they've got a proposed bill that is going to have a state income tax. So more taxation controlled by the state is what our state senators are all about. That gives you an idea that they're sitting on their thrones and they're looking at the people and expect us to grovel at their feet. And I'll just tell the senators right now, I'm considering we are at war with them, and we're not going to give you any clues to what we're doing. We're not going to give you any intel. And we're going to get that issue on the ballot. So you better start working on some solutions of cutting this government.
It's amazing because Ron DeSantis is there saying that they are going to put it on as a constitutional amendment. Not the people, but
well, that's because they're concerned about the average citizen. Our state senators are worried about their donor class. It's very, very obvious. And we've tried to reach out to Ramaswamy's team, and they're totally ignoring us. He says he's going to eliminate the income tax, and they tell us that we're extremely irresponsible for eliminating property taxes without having a solution on how we're going to replace the dollars. Well, I'll throw that back at them and say, well, if you're replacing income tax, what are you going to do to replace the income tax? So the first thing that they have to do is start thinking about how we're going to reduce the size of this bloated government, because the public sector has outgrown the private sector's ability to pay for services.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that, and it was a long time ago for us, we have a $500 million levy on the ballot from our local schools in Lakota this year. I'm obviously against that levy, as are all three of my trustees, and they're not all conservative, in Westchester, and that is Lakota Schools. It's kind of tone deaf. But one thing that I noticed in our communities is, and look, we have great teachers, and I'm not against teachers. I'm a public school graduate myself. Both my children graduated from public school. But when the average, I don't even know what our average salary is now, but over 10 years ago, the average teacher salary was $86,000 in Lakota. And when teachers are getting an 18 or 20, or I don't even know what the last contract raise, but our community people paying those bills are getting 1% per year under inflation, it says to me that there's a disconnect between the people paying the bill and those that are actually receiving the money. And I think that when your representation in a government of the people, for the people, and by the people do not hear you, then the people need to take their rightful place in that cord of three strands of, for, and by the people. And you guys are doing that, and I respect the heck out of you for doing it. And I need to say too, though, your legislature does have an ability to put it on the ballot themselves. But you see, the support is not there.
That is not happening. Yeah, that's not happening. That's what DeSantis is doing, though. He's doing that in Florida.
Exactly.
But that ain't happening here in Ohio, that's for sure. No.
Right. And so I love that you guys are active, because this is the way a good, strong government works. A government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And the people are acting, and you guys are pushing through political pain. You are pushing your legislature to act. And that's the way it's supposed to work. So keep it up.
Yeah, Jennifer, we've had better success with the Libertarian Party than we have the Republican Party. The Libertarian Party is supporting us 100%, and their gubernatorial candidate is one of our platforms is the abolishment of the property taxes. So I find it very interesting that we keep talking about the Republicans this and putting them on the pedestals. They're not thinking about the average citizen, Jennifer. They're just not.
I am sorry. It does feel tone deaf. I have honestly been up. I don't get any recognition for this. The rhinos will credit other people, but in caucus, I've been standing from day one, all through the budget process, saying, what about property tax reform? Quite frankly, so is Beth Lear. Beth Lear had an amendment. She had the Penny Jordan, which would have been cutting all spending in the state by 1% in every department, decreasing our spending, being more responsible. She also said, let's at least give every homeowner, $1,000. We can't do 1,000. It's too much. What about 300? Because could we put money in the taxpayer's pocket? And there was no reception to those suggestions. And knowing that legislation is so slow in Ohio, again, it was because of your initiative that we began to move. And we're still moving because you're putting the pressure on. Keep it up.
Yeah, keep that pressure going. That's all we can do. Keep it
in the
going.
military. And in the military, in the tactical world, you lean in. You do not. You don't, like, I guess boxing. I'm not a boxer, of course, but you keep
lean in.
And you do not relent. You keep going. And, I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed. I'm a legislator. I failed you.
But at least you're one of the few that are on the good side. One of the few.
But I failed you because we did not bring it home. And
well, that's a good segue to what I want to say here. The first thing is I will gladly announce that very little of what I do and say here on Ohio Political News is personal. I think that life is too short to hold a grudge. We have moved on from Senator Sherrod Brown. However, I am going to once again share this. This is Profiles in Corruption, and there's a chapter on Sherrod Brown. Just going back a few moments in our conversation from the Peter Schweitzer book. The Peter Schweitzer book.
Post-it.
I read a lot, and sometimes I do book on tape. Peter Schweitzer is phenomenal. He did a chapter dedicated to how bad Sherrod Brown is. Nobody should want to elect that man. We want him far away from office. Sorry, I had to backtrack to that.
Doesn't he have a history of the United States also? I think he has.
Schweitzer's got a whole bunch of great books sitting on my bedside in actual paper form. I've got Throw Them All Out, which I've started, but I haven't finished yet. So getting back to the matter at hand, I have exactly one note that I wrote down pursuant to fixing all of these things that we're talking about. And it relates exactly to Representative Gross's comment that she feels she's failed us. I don't believe that she has. I believe that all of this boils down to one thing and one thing only, and that is the ORP. Ohio Republican Party has failed us again and again and again. They have postured themselves in a position of addiction to failure. The addiction to failure actually may be generous. I believe that there's an argument to be made that they profit from and relish in the whole notion of being the kabuki dance sidekick of the Democrat Party. There are people all throughout this supposed Republican Party, in this supposed two-party system that we supposedly live in, that they have an R next to their name that's mystifying, that should not be there. And we have yet to button up and shore up our Republican Party. When we do that, then we have lots of people like Representative Gross who go in there and advocate actually on behalf of we the people and do things the right way and are able to tune out all the big money swirl, the corporate interests, the lobbyists, and all the bad guys, and actually do their stinking job. If we are successful at replacing a lot of these rhinos and filling these vacant seats all throughout Ohio, that, by the way, is another opportunity for a side note on ohioprecinctstrategy.org. Go to the website. There's a national that's precinctstrategy.com. Dan Schultz, the creator of that out of Maricopa County, Arizona, is a friend of mine. We co-educate the nation on basic American civics, which teaches people to get involved locally. That's what all this boils down to. If we can get more people to get involved locally, where you live, we can reclaim the Republican Party. That will break the back of the uniparty. It will give us back representative government. And then all of these things that we're talking about, when we want property tax reform, when government gets back to functioning the way that it's designed to, we have it. Snap of the fingers, it becomes easy overnight because there's no more uniparty blocking us.
Can I say too, Jonathan,
Sure.
that the average person needs to run for office. They need to have a little bit of funds, right? They need to be able to show that they can put some of their own blood, sweat, and tears to get support so that they don't have to bear the whole brunt of their own challenging election. But I hear a lot of times out and about in the community, no way, that's not for me. I can't do that. I'm not doing that. That only dumb people run for office. And that may be true. Because I did, but you have to do some self-introspection, when people say that. But people need to understand that the legislature is no better and no worse than the general population. We need pipe fitters. We need plumbers. Levi Dean's a plumber. We need nurse practitioners. Jennifer Gross is a nurse practitioner. We need attorneys. We need homeschool moms. We need judges. We need we need restaurant owners. We need small business owners. We need all of that to get a representative government. But if people that have the resources and the ability to run for office just go, I don't want any part of it. And look, I get it. Your name's going to be out on lies on Wikipedia and lies in the media, and Jake Zuckerman, who is prime in lying about me and misrepresenting the truth about and he was a reporter, if you want to call him that, in a dark money electronic reporting thing. But I still, if people turn away and they go, nope, I'm not going to do that. We need people like me who knew nothing about the inside, who had never been in office before, to step in. Why? Because we then will talk about, hey, do you know what's really going on in here? You guys need to know. And it's a sacrifice. It's a sacrificial, truly, when you go in and it isn't you don't want to stay for life, and it wasn't your lifelong dream to stay in politics for life like Sherrod Brown. Look what we get when we get career politicians like that. We got DeWine, we get Sherrod Brown. And DeWine's not bad on everything, but he did veto every single piece of property tax reform we did. So that's not good. But the point is that we need the average Ohioan to run for office. And Jonathan, to your point, starting with the precinct strategy, that is how people begin to get a taste of what it looks like at the lowest level of the Republican Party. They get involved, they see their community, and that's how I got involved. I became a precinct chair. And then someone asked me to run for office. So we need that as, feeder team, if you will, to get involved and understand what's going on in the party politic. And Jonathan, I just thank you. Do not give up on continuing to beat that drum.
Yeah,
I'm definitely beating the drum. Representative Gross, if I may, what you're talking about there is spectacular. I love it. It's citizen legislature. It's people who have a career, they do something successfully, and they're willing to sacrifice some block of time, 2 years or 4 years or something, to go and contribute their skill set and their knowledge and their wherewithal to serving community. That's the way our country was designed to work. I agree with the second half of what you said, that we need a slice of Americana in all aspects. However, I disagree with the first part. The first part of what you said was that our legislature in general is no better or no worse. Unfortunately, because the overwhelming majority of everybody said, well, no, government's for other people. Somebody else is going to handle that. It created a vacuum, and we've ended up with the worst of the worst. We've ended up with an array of really, really bad people, which brings us right back to the critical need for skilled, competent, motivated people who are intelligent and willing to make some level of sacrifice to go out and serve community. And if we get good at that again, we can get back to our constitutional republic, which is, of course, a slash mark on that stupid wheel, defend democracy, or whatever Joe put up.
Well,
from
that's
group.
You're starting to sound like Mark Paquita. He says throw them all out, like Schweitzer's book, And, I mean, he's got some good points. You've got to have, I'm sure he'd agree with everything you said. Of course, I can't speak for him. He speaks enough.
Hey, John, let's get the commission's thoughts on this as well. Hey, how you doing?
First thought, said before, I'll say it again, the most dangerous virus in Ohio is the rhinovirus, and we've got to start fighting back.
That's right.
My one question to the state legislature is why we keep using the words property tax reform when the absolute lowest level of reform that we could possibly call meaningful is to address those who have been hurt by the property tax crisis the most, namely our seniors on a fixed income. And we know because Senator Al Catrona proposed a 50% property tax exemption for seniors, and the state Senate costed it out. No limits, no income limits, no value limits, costed it out at $1.5 billion. Double that, it would cost $3 billion to exempt seniors from property taxes altogether. Now, that's less than 3% of the all funds budget for Ohio. If you want to parse words, and some state reps and senators go, no, our budget's only 50, 60 billion. Okay, if we use the general fund budget, then it's less than 6%. But either way you slice it, the fact that the state legislature won't even consider exempting seniors from property tax, but insists on using the words property tax reform, is just so gallingly dishonest that it's got the average Ohioan infuriated. And I want to know why they are so greedy for the money. I want to understand where there is money to give $600 million to the gosh darn Browns, but there's no money for our seniors. That's my question.
I think that's really a great question, John. I had a 97-year-old woman call me who's arguably been living in Westchester for 70 years. So obviously 70 years of property tax to the schools, which is 65% in Lakota roughly. And she was crying, and she doesn't qualify for the homestead exemption. Now, my neighbor, I found out today, she's a dependent of a deceased 100% disabled veteran, and she's going to get double her homestead exemption. I'm really excited about that because our Butler County commissioners did opt in to giving our homestead exemption, doubling the homestead exemption. But that 97-year-old woman doesn't qualify. She's a widow. She's still independent. She does her own grocery shopping, and she lives alone. What am I supposed to say to her? Get a job? I believe that there are a lot of Republicans who feel more concerned about the public schools losing money than our elderly. And then back to what I said, John, I do believe that there's a predatory type of, I don't know who's doing it or how it's coming together, but the elderly are often not there able to fight for themselves. And this is where representation needs to fight for the elderly. For me, I agree with you. I'm really actually getting closer to the elderly age, to be honest with you. But I think that when you've lived in your community and it's your living abode, not the Airbnbs and the rentals and all that, when it is your home and your homestead, that over 65, I agree with you. And it's a challenge of spending. We have a lot of spenders, and I won't give names, but I was part of the budget process, and I see the ones that are requesting increased spending. And we have a spending problem, John, and I know you know this as a commissioner. We have Republicans who do not want to cut spending, and we could do that. I found $300 million. We have private rooms right now for people on Medicaid. You and I, if we can afford anything and we have to go into a nursing home, we look for the semi-private room. But people on Medicaid that qualify to go into a nursing home, they go right in for private rooms. Why is that a higher priority at $320 million every other year. Why is that a higher priority than giving elderly people tax exemption on their property tax? All I can tell you is it's missed priorities, and it's also a legislature that refuses to cut spending.
Representative, I can say it's awfully suspicious to the average Ohioan that the folks who donate the most money seem to get all the attention from Columbus. I mean, Jimmy Haslam has made maxed out contributions to more than half the Republican caucus. Power plants are nefarious for buying elections in Ohio, and yet they're the ones getting the tax exemptions and the grants from the state. And everyday seniors who can't pay to put food on the table, of course they're not making political contributions. They're not political people. They're just trying to survive. And to your point about telling a senior go back to work as though that's possible, people like to cite the federal poverty threshold. Only 10% of seniors, which by the way is unacceptable. Only 10% of seniors in Ohio are below that threshold. But if you look at the ALICE threshold, asset limited, income constrained, employed, which is published by the United Way, by the way, that means that you are so asset limited that you're having to work. That's 49% of seniors in Ohio. Nearly half our seniors are being forced to work in their golden years because they're being taxed to death and taxed out of their homes. This has got to stop.
That's right.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
That's right.
Hey, Joe, can I interject something there? Just really quickly, I spoke my piece about precinct strategy, and I'm going to continue to beat that drum. We need to get involved locally. I want to share something to put that perspective on the local level. I went to a Meet the Candidates night this last Monday here locally. My county hosted a come through, meet the candidates. People had tables set up. I actually learned that Monday evening that my county commissioners were meeting to discuss giving another $400,000 office, yet another build to one of our county elected people. I'm not going to be too specific here, because I'm still working through and parsing the numbers on this thing. And I'm kicking myself for taking my eye off the commissioners for a couple of months. And this snuck under the radar. It's yet another example of these buildings and raises and hiring and expanding offices and expanding programs and building new things and expansive. These offices are insane. These monolithic, these like ivory towers they're building for these county people. My view is they should be sitting around a boardroom table with all of us on the same level field, not some gold ensconced $400,000 office. I was instantly enraged. I went in the following morning at 9 a.m. to go and voice opposition. I was too late. Apparently they had already reviewed it several times, and they banged the gavel and said, here you go. Here's another 400,000. It seems like roughly weekly, some $1.6 million build for this, or a new courtroom for that, or a new court tower for the water commission. It's insane. The parade of these expenses that happen at the local level. My point is, don't simply look at Columbus only or DC. A lot of this is happening at the local level, where even just a few people, if you get focused on it and show up, ask questions, follow things, push people, you might be able to fight back, especially if you can organize. That is where the opportunity is. All politics is local. Fight back at the local level.
So I want to give one example from Lake County. So many of you know that while I've been called a lot of things over the years, the one nickname I do like is Commissioner No. And that's principally because I vote no on taxes, but I'm very good at saying no on spending too. And one of my colleagues was trying, I believe, to endear himself to another one of the county officials, the coroner, and had essentially promised him a brand new morgue with a giant new office space, and it would have been a multi-million dollar project. And I said, no, double entendre pun intended, this is dead on arrival. We're burying this. We're not doing it. We have a very beneficial lease with University Hospitals that we negotiated when Lake Health merged with UH. They are happy to continue that lease to use their space in perpetuity. We have no need to build and pay for a morgue. Not going to happen. Well, the coroner wrote an op-ed in the newspaper, told everyone to contact President John Plechnik of the Board of Commissioners and demand that I build the morgue. And literally sent an email to all of us saying that if there was ever an overflow in the morgue, they'd be sure to drop off the dead bodies in my front yard. That's what I experienced from saying we have a free and available morgue from UH. There is no need to build another one. That's what happens when your commissioner pushes back. Now, I killed that project, once again, pun intended, and we are doing A-OK, super fine. There was never a need for a new morgue. But you have to understand that even amongst Republicans, and everyone I've referenced here are Republicans.
We're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Dakota Sawyer. I will be your moderator tonight.
Yeah, what you're describing, there should be 99% more of those. Until we don't have people out there who are struggling to put food on the table and pay their energy bills and keep warm during the winter, and we stop pricing seniors out of their homes, this spending like drunken sailors is ridiculous. And yes, we are overly generous with our use of the term Republican. And that takes me back to Ohio Rhino Hunters. But that's a cue to our audience. Come find me at Ohio Rhino Hunters. I run that. We need to get real Republicans in those Republican offices, the type of people who are willing and able to say no, to stand up to that ridiculous pressure. There's preposterous op-eds where they're going to tell you that you don't have a soul because you're not going to build the new morgue, or the endangered tree louse is going to die because all of the pine trees will die if you don't fund another $500 million for this Parks and Rec group. It's insane, the parade of spending, and vast majorities of it just goes into people's pockets. We all know that. It's time for more of us to have the integrity to stand up and call it what it is and say no to those things. And that's where we, the people, come in. So John Plechnik, using him as an example, I wasn't aware of that morgue thing in Lake County doesn't surprise me. And it's one of assume that there's one of those per week in whatever county you live in, our audience here, or maybe two. Go in and organize. Now imagine if you have a county commissioner, two different scenarios. Let's imagine you have somebody like John Plechnik who's willing to say no to that thing, and it's crickets. There's no support from the community. He gets the negative op-ed. He's going to get piled on from the left. It's ugly and brutal, and there's crickets from the people in the community because people don't care and people aren't aware. Now imagine a scenario where the county Republican Party is full of all kinds of solid Republicans who back him and say, yeah, you know what? Good job, John Plechnik. We don't need the multi-million-dollar spend on a new morgue. Let's save that money and make life better for average citizens of Lake County. Now imagine you have a county full of people who actually care, who fill the county GOP and support people who write the opposing op-ed and say, hey, what you may not know about that circumstance in Lake County is that we have a free available resource that works in perpetuity and fights back on behalf of John Plechnik. I don't know what John Plechnik's experience was in Lake County with that morgue thing, but I can say overwhelmingly, it's the left who are the squeaky wheel. They agitate, they write those ridiculous, insane op-eds. They have these stupid things like no kings. They're all over the place swarming social media, the media, op-eds, newspapers, the TV shows, you name it. And we need to stop being the silent majority. We need to actually take the reins of this thing, fight back, and advocate for the things that we want.
We got it.
Hey, Joe, I've got another topic for Jennifer before she leaves.
Yeah, go ahead, ask her.
Yeah, Jennifer, just changing gears a little bit. We've been speaking to a group called the Southwest Ohio for Responsible Technology, and we've been looking at these smart meters which is
Yes.
something that is going to, as I understand it, go through the entire state of Ohio. And I understand a lot of those smart meters are because of the need for additional electricity because of the data centers that are being brought
That's right.
in. Do you have any words of wisdom? Because we're really concerned about the smart meters impacting the health of Ohio citizens.
Well, there are multiple issues with this. You can see that data centers are able to pay more money. So perhaps energy is going to the highest bidder. And when we have smart meters on a home at any time, then the company can shut down or close off, or next thing you know, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're not postmenopause, you are just sweating because they turned your air off. They can adjust your air without your knowledge when there's a smart meter. And that is a health related issue too. So you have someone with, I don't know, asthma that can't be in a humid, hot environment. I mean, the weather now warns us all the time, the air quality, these things. And I guess ultimately, do you trust your government to control your heat? I mean, when does the government, or when, let's say, without legislation, why can energy then say, well, we're going to change you're using too much energy, so we're going to decrease your energy usage because we need to move the energy that we do have over to these data centers? I believe and have felt for some time. Remember that 3 years ago, we avoided rolling blackouts in Ohio on energy by the hair on our chinny chin chin. And the energy is like the body. It will go to the places that need most energy the most. So the heart, the brain, the kidneys, right? So are the average Americans and Ohioans going to get the energy, or is the business to keep the state running going to get the energy? I think that we know the answer. The energy will go to the highest bidder, and that will be a problem. Also, we have an issue with digital issues where you happen to be on a podcast with Jen Gross, or Jen Gross was on a podcast with you, and you didn't behave. So we're going to turn off your energy. It's sort of another way to control the people. And government, good government is good, but good government in the hands of bad people is bad. And when we give more control of our daily lives to anyone, we are losing freedom. And, I think COVID, again, one of the negative things about COVID, it took us down a path of, we were used to being forced to consolidate ourselves or not go places or do certain things. And it's like the frog in the pot just continues to erode our freedom. So health related, there are people that struggle with the wireless and the issues related to the energy related to wireless technology. And the other thing is, how can they then, if you don't choose to use this technology, you will be charged $30 a month. How about the poor person who doesn't want the energy or doesn't want the smart meter, but now they've got to pay another $30 a month? To the tune of,
it starts at 30. It starts at 30 and keeps going up. Yeah.
So it's $360 a year because you don't want this equipment. You have to pay them.
Jennifer, do you know how many data centers they want to put into the state of Ohio? And are they going to be out in the farmlands, or are they going to be right in the downtown areas?
Here's what I would say. I don't know about the data centers, but the Bitcoin mines, those are a problem. And anybody who's looking at a Bitcoin mine that's going to be in their backyard better oppose that. Because unless they're putting them, I guess you can put the computers in oil or water or something to decrease the noise. But if they don't have the new technology and they don't have the noise abatement, people's communities have been decimated by the noise. So they've got nice communities and the noise makes it so they can't sell their homes. They no longer have peace and all of that. So people need to be aware. I don't know about the data centers. I don't know if they're noisy or not, but I know Bitcoin mines are. And so we need to
Had
be
no
aware.
idea about Bitcoin mines. Thank you
Yep.
so much for mentioning it. I had no idea at all.
I'd like to follow on with a question for the representative, because a lot of my constituents are asking me about this Klopfenstein guy, because he's proposed a bill that is very frightening to conservatives, which creates a quote-unquote discount program for those who voluntarily agree to let their smart meter take over their thermostat. And it's pretty obvious to all of us that it starts as a discount. And before you know it, it's so expensive to refuse to be part of the program that everyone's effectively forced to give control of their thermostat to the government. So who is this Klopfenstein guy, and why does he want to control my thermostat?
I can't answer for Roy Klopfenstein, but he is a really nice guy. Actually, he's in an 80 plus, I think, percent Republican district. I think he's gotten a lot of heat for that bill. I do believe that it's possible he didn't really understand the ramifications of that bill. I can't speak for him, but what I would say is this sounds eerily similar to a bill that Bill Seitz was sponsoring last General Assembly, and this is why lobbyists are in Columbus. So they shop around these bills and they only go to certain reps. You'll notice I don't carry very few, if any, lobbyist bills. I carry citizen-led initiatives and citizen-led bills because the lobbyists know I'm not going to compromise on liberty and freedom. And I'm not saying all lobbyists are bad. Okay, I'm not saying that, but you know, I mean, some are better than others, but what I am saying is that lobbyists are there paid by someone to force their initiative forward. And this is why legislators, and you may see a bill coming near you by someone you might know very close on this podcast in the near future. Legislators should not be able to be lobbyists, or anyone who's been in the House or the Senate should not be able to lobby for 5 years after they leave the House or the legislature, because they lobby for an issue. And those lobbyists get paid and they have the time. You guys don't have time to visit 132 representatives, Senate and House. You don't have time to keep meeting with people, and you're not being paid. You're citizens and you got other life to live. And these people are literally paid to visit with us. They get money if they see us, and they move these initiatives forward. I do believe a lobbyist has, whoever is driving this, I don't know what energy company. I don't know if it's all of the energy deliverers. I don't know. But what I would say is some lobbyists came in and said, will you carry this bill? And I think the backlash has been huge. I've had people writing my office, and I have nothing to do with that bill. I'm a no vote. I was never a yes vote when Bill carried it. I believe this is the same bill, and everyone in the earshot of my voice needs to be writing their legislator and saying, don't you dare vote for this bill. We hate it. We don't want it. And then send a nice letter. Don't say, I demand that send a letter to Rep. Klopfenstein and say, perhaps you might want to rethink this.
Hey, Rose, on that 5-year moratorium, on that 5-year moratorium, I suggest adding the Ohio Chamber of Commerce.
That you can't lobby for the chamber either.
Yeah, there's so many people. It's a revolving door. They go back and forth. They switch sides of the House. They go Senate to House, House to Senate, and then they go across the street for a couple of years with some gravy train job in the Ohio Chamber and become lobbyists. The whole thing is swampy.
It's sort of a way to get around term limits, to be honest with you. So you become a paid lobbyist, but you still influence legislation. So you're moving your legislation or whoever you're lobbying for forward. And remember, I know, I won't name who this is because they oppose a bill that I'm carrying right now. But let's just say a lobbyist is being paid $2,000 a month to lobby against an initiative that is good for Ohio and good for Ohioans. I'm carrying the bill. And this person, basically, this lobbyist came up, if you were smart, you would let that bill die. I'm like, oh, I sponsored a bill because I want to kill it. I don't do that. I sponsored the bill because I believe in it. But this person is paid $2,000 a month by the opposition of my bill, and that person can meet with every single person in the Senate and the House and poison the well, so that my colleagues are like, well, so and so came in and they have all these concerns about, and then I have to fight every single one. But they can keep going. They start one round and they go round and round, and that's for every legislation. So whether it's energy, whether it's farming, whether it's whatever it is, good or bad, eminent domain for farmers. There are people who want to be able to do that, and they lobby against the issue. And all I can tell you is good government requires, remember that I think it was Madison who said that our Constitution is only for immoral people. And we have to have people that understand that our government is a citizen-led representative government that requires that representatives represent those who sponsored them and voted for them and sent them to Columbus.
Yeah, it's supposed to. Wait a minute. It's supposed to be that way, but it sounds like the lobbyists are the ones that are covering. I want to take some of these chat calls here real quick.
Okay.
Ken, put them up. And I need quick answers, Jennifer. I need quick answers on these.
Okay. All right, quick.
How do we know where these noisy Bitcoin mines are going to be planned and built?
Usually that will be through your city council or your township. So they'll come and you've got to be active in your city council and your township administration and go to your township meetings, because the zoning will require that they ask for permission. You guys need to be all over that, and you need to attend your local meetings.
In Ohio,
was that fast?
That's fast. In Ohio, if we live in a village, can we ask to have our smart meter be removed? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know why a village would matter. I think you could call your energy company, but once you have those placed in there, I believe you cannot have them removed. But you could maybe get if it's heat, you could get a wood stove or a pellet stove, and you could stop using your energy. You could maybe get solar. I know solar, but if you want solar, you can make your own energy. But I don't know that answer. I'm not I don't know the technological requirement to put those in, and I don't know if you already have it, if you can get it out. I don't know. I'm sorry.
No problem. We don't expect you to know everything. Ken, is there another question before we wrap it up tonight? Thought I saw another one.
Joe.
1 second, John. All right.
John, you rock, man. I wish you could be one of our commissioners down here.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, Representative, and I just have to say, you win the contest for best quotable quote tonight. You heard it here, folks. Representative Klopfenstein is taking heat for trying to control your thermostat. That's a good one, Representative.
No, it's not intentional, but it was good.
We like that. Sound bites. That's what it's all about. Hey, Jennifer, thank you again. God bless you. We really appreciate you coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rose.
Jennifer.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, you guys.
Have a good
you.
night.
Have a great evening. I'll be watching you online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless.
All right. Listen, I want to cut over to a couple things with the property taxes again. You guys, I want to get your thoughts on this. This was the property tax nightmare town hall that we had last Tuesday. There's the panelists. Tom Z is on the far left sitting down. John Pleshnik. We have Leonard. And we have Leonard Gilbert and Brian Massey. Let's talk about this for a few minutes here, especially the people that may not have attended. First of all, good, bad, and ugly about it. What did you think? What did you think about the town hall? Did it answer a lot of the questions? Did it get the point across, do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. I really appreciate Tom Z. And then Commissioner Plechik was outstanding. I know that we took some of the speeches of Commissioner Plechik and we cut it down into small reels, and you're going to tell us, I think it's, I don't know, 500,000 views on the reels. And I thought we answered all the questions. And that was the idea behind the whole panel discussion, was to answer questions from the audience. And we did that. So I thought it was great. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to have more panels. We're planning to have one December 8th or something like that in Lake County. So I look forward to more panel discussions and answering the questions for the citizens.
Absolutely. That to me is the most important part. We've got to answer the questions. Crisis or whatever. That person said that the town hall was awesome, so they were obviously there. I got a lot of good feedback from it for the most part. Let me go to John. Where are you at here? Sometimes I lose you. There you are. Okay, what were your thoughts there? You were one of the panelists.
If I had to sum up the entire panel in one sentence, the property taxes are too damn high and we're not going to take it anymore. I think we delivered a strong message to Columbus that the people are wide awake, we are angry, and things have to change. That's number one. Number two, I think we addressed the concerns that a lot of folks have about where the money is going to come from. How do we make up the delta between a world with and without property taxes? And there's a Republican and a Democrat. There's a liberal and conservative answer to that question. And the liberal Democrat answer is raise another tax. And we've seen, sadly, some rhinos in Columbus suggest that we should have a new state property tax and higher sales taxes to make up the difference. That's a liberal Democrat answer. The conservative Republican answer is cut spending. We don't have a revenue problem in Ohio. We have the biggest budget in Ohio history. We have a spending problem. When I hear talk about addiction, I'm picturing a state rep, I'm picturing a state senator addicted to our money. That's the problem. And lastly, I think we did a great job of hearing from our folks and responding to the faux concern that the politicians have raised that if we cut property taxes, we're not going to be able to fund roads, police, fire, schools, libraries, and essential local services. It's as simple as this: we cut Columbus's budget.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. We've got to start doging the state of Ohio. It's got to be doged and cut and all of that. Question is, are we going to do these in other parts of the state of Ohio? I'll answer that one. The answer is absolutely yes. We are going to be traveling to other parts of the state of Ohio, and we've got to get hopping on it. We have to get hopping on this. So it's not just the panelists. There's people behind the scenes, too, like George Satari, who can help fund some of these events. But definitely, we've got to get them out to other parts of the state. All right, I'm going to play this here. This was Mark Kay. And Mark Kay is very well known as far as a podcaster. He's very well known. He really is. So I got to play this. Yeah, let's see here.
Ohio political news. Yay! That's my favorite political news channel in Ohio, by the way. Mark, thanks for the great coverage of the news. Ohio Political News wishes Mark a happy birthday. Ohio, please sign the petition to abolish property taxes. Listen, if you live in Ohio and you hate property taxes, you should follow Ohio Political News on Facebook and on YouTube, because they have all kinds of they've got great content about the property tax fight. Property taxes are no good anywhere. Property taxes are you, as Ron DeSantis says, are you renting your house back from the government? You buy a house, you own your house, but you don't really own your house because you're renting it from the government for the rest of your life. That's what property taxes are. We're trying to abolish them here in Florida. Ohio Political News is working diligently to abolish them in Ohio, and follow them for all the information and all the stuff out of Ohio that you need to know about, and they're very good people as well. Ohio Political News, yay!
Okay, very good. All right, thank you, Mark. Check is in the mail. Ron DeSantis, as we played earlier, he wants to abolish property taxes, and he wants to do it in November of 2026. If this gets on the ballot and gets approved, we would also be abolishing them in November of 2026. So although there is no state that has officially abolished property taxes throughout its statewide at least, it would be ironic that in November, next November, a little over a year, we could have 2 states abolishing property taxes simultaneously. Think about that. Isn't that something? Yeah, come to Lucas County. We're going to come. Yeah, help us arrange it, okay? Anybody who wants the panelists to go to your county, contact me, Joe, at ohiopoliticalnews.com. Just email me, Joe at ohiopoliticalnews.com. We'll get the panelists out there. We'll work with you, or you've got to get us to a group, a Republican group, a Tea Party group, or somebody who we can work with to make this happen, okay? But we will go to your county.
Yeah, Joe, it would be great if we're in Lucas County and if they had a Lucas County official that would like to join the panel, be they for or against. I think that would be very interesting.
That would be. Or any of the counties. Any of the counties. All right, coming up in November, this November, okay, this November we have how many? I'm gonna do this out as a trivia question to you guys. Tell me what you think, okay? Let's see who comes closest. Northeast Ohio has how many levies and bond issues on this November 4th ballot? This is Northeast Ohio only.
Just Northeast Ohio?
Yeah.
Well, in Lake County, I think there was about 10. My memory serves me right, because I was writing about that. So, Northeast Ohio, 100?
100. What do you think, Jonathan?
I'm going to guess Northeast Ohio. How much are we including? Are we going into Lorain, from Lorain to Ashtabula, and south to Stark?
Probably. Just that big chunk of area up there. Just what do you think?
I think it's north of 100. I'm going to say I'll play the odds on this one. 110.
I'll let the commish answer, but I've got to tell you, commish, they're a little bit on the high side. So, what do you think?
Well, let's see. Then I'll do Price is Right rules and say 99.
No, about 65, guys. So this is a little bit less.
Yep.
Yeah, you won. You won. A little bit less than usual, but that's still just for Northeast Ohio. And Parma, let me tell you this real quick. Parma City School District and Seven Hills in Cuyahoga County here, they have an emergency levy that they're putting on the ballot. Let's see here. It marks the 4th time they've put this levy on in the last 8 years because it's kept getting defeated. And that's another thing, too, is why are you allowed to put a levy on all the time, over and over and over, when the people shoot it down? But once it gets approved, it's on there for 30 years or for however long.
So, Joe, I have to jump in there real quick. One thing the folks need to know is that the political consulting firms that are reaching out to your school district and offering to represent them for their levies literally make the promise. If your levy fails, we will represent you in the next campaign and the next campaign and the next campaign for free until it passes. So they're literally making the until it pass guarantee, and they will never stop coming for your money.
And it's just not right. So everything is stacked against the taxpayer. Think about it. Everything is stacked against us because we say no to a levy. Now in Parma, they said no. They said no. They said no. They said no. So every other year, the Parma City Schools are putting this massive levy on there. It's going to increase. If you own a $100,000 house, you're going to be paying, let's see here, about, what is it? $242. Okay. If you own a $100,000 house, $242. So nobody owns a $100,000 house anymore, not after those reevaluations. So you're going to be spending at least $600 and they said that it's an emergency because they don't have the money to pay the staff, they don't have the money to pay the teachers, and oh, by the way, if you do sports, you might have to do a pay to play for the sports. Who cares? Do
What
not.
was that? A 7 mil? Was that a 6.9 or 7 mil levy?
Yeah, 7 mil.
7 mil.
So do not pass any property taxes anymore. Nobody. No one.
I'm with
If
you
no
there.
one.
If you vote for another levy, you're funding your own demise.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, around the horn last time, thoughts on let me just get you this thought on you, Brian. Since you're in the know more than anybody, how are the signatures going, and is this going to get on the November ballot? Because a lot of people are saying we'll believe it if we see it.
Interesting question. There was an article, I think News 5 wrote an article that they were quoting someone that said that we have 100,000 signatures. And if anyone is telling any news outlet how many signatures we have, they're misstating things because they don't know. The only person in the state of Ohio that knows how many signatures we have is me. And I'm not telling anyone, and I mentioned this before, but let me say it again, that we are at war with our legislators, primarily the state senators, because they have lost touch, in my opinion, with the average citizens. They do not relate to the average citizens at all. And if we're at war, I do not believe that we should give any intel to our enemy. And I'm viewing the state senators as our enemy. Their response was that they now believe that there should be a state income tax and an increase in the sales tax to replace the dollars when we eliminate the income tax locally. That's not a solution at all. And you've heard Commissioner Plechik say, we've got to cut the size of our government. And we may not be able to do that until we get new senators and representatives like Jennifer Gross. But I'm just telling everyone, do not believe anything that you hear reported on the number of signatures, because no one knows but me.
Knows. Okay. Well, then I was going to ask you, but I guess I won't. Jonathan, you
Yeah,
got last
thank you
thought
very
here before we wrap it up?
Yeah, so as always, I like to try to dedicate most of our focus to the people who made comments. So thank you for making the comments. There was somebody that commented about levies passing in Lucas County. I actually brought up the Ohio Department of Education workforce report portal, and I was going to look up and see if I could figure out what the school districts are in Lucas County. But here's my recommendation. Whatever county you're in, Lucas County, Ohio, or otherwise, go on to Protect Ohio Children. Look for the Ohio, it's called the Academic Accountability Project. I co-created that with Columbus area lawyer Omar Tarazi. Omar and I co-created the Ohio Academic Accountability Project. Bring up reports, take them into those local districts, Lucas County, or wherever you are, and start moving the needle. Start informing people about what's happening in your local district. Of course, you can post online and talk about finding the porn books or boys being in the girls' bathrooms. Some of that stuff has kind of died out, or it's muted now a little because Trump's in office. Believe me, by the way, that stuff's not gone. It's hiding from you. And the uniparty, leftist, anti-American cabal are just waiting. They're waiting out the clock, and they want to bring that stuff back again. But go there, bring those reports into school board meetings, and start posting that stuff. As an example, in Lake County, there is a school district, Wycliffe School District in Lake County. Somebody brought it onto my radar. It's not my district, but I used those reports to highlight the fact that they recently peaked out above $32,000 per pupil per year in expenses, total expenses per pupil, and their report is that they're at about 50% proficiency. if you bring those types of things into conversation, it makes making the public aware of the issues in your local community that much easier. And hopefully, maybe you can start to defeat some levies and stop driving horrible education at octuple the price and driving people out of their homes. That's where the battle is. It's for children, it's for education, it's high taxes for very little in return. And that's a key resource that I hope more people take advantage of.
John, I'm going to give you a last talk or the last raha tonight before we wrap it up. And thanks again to everybody. Thanks all you guys for being on the show tonight.
Yeah, Joe, talk about the tomorrow after Commissioner Plechnik. You got to mention that we will be live streaming tomorrow from Willoughby Hills.
So from smart meters to property taxes, the rhinos are running wild in Ohio. It's time to hold them to account. And we need to ask our state reps, we need to ask our state senators, and we need to ask everyone, township trustee to school board member, do you support abolishing property taxes, or are you a rhino? Do you support our seniors, or are you a liberal? Do you care about the average taxpayer, or are you a big government Democrat? Because it's bimodal, folks. It's one or the other. You can't be conservative and support taxing people out of their homes. You can't be a conservative Republican and want to have big government and big data take over our thermostat. You can't be both. And we need to start calling the rhinos out. They're afraid to have these conversations. They're afraid to have a town hall. They're afraid to take open questions and be at an open mic. We're not. Representative Gross proved she's not. So put them to the test. Ask them the question. Force them to answer to you because you're their boss. Are you a rhino or do you give a damn about Ohio? You can't be both.
Brian, go ahead and talk about that event real quick for tomorrow, please.
Yeah, tomorrow 1:30 at the Willoughby Hills Community Center. The Lake County Commissioners Beveridge and Regovich, they have been sponsoring a meeting with all of the Lake County entities, taxing authorities, and they're going to be talking about property taxes. I will be there representing Ohio Political News, and we will be live streaming it on the Rumble channel. I would assume it's going to be on X and Facebook and YouTube also, but Kent could fill us in on that. So we look forward. It's from 1:30 to 3:30, and again, if they can't watch it live, we will have it recorded for them so they can see it later.
All right, excellent. Yes, we will be covering it live, and look forward to that. Look very, very much forward to that. Thank you guys for everything you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Commissioner Plechnik. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, folks.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.